So I think we'll get started. Okay, so this is a meeting of the Rutland Zoning Board of Appeals. Present are Tamika Murphy, Secretary, Chris Senical, Vice Chair, Robert Paulson, Arthur Wells, Paul Corain, Jacob Morris. I am Rick Surratt. So the first item on the agenda is an application for a side setback variance. Let me take a look. Jennifer and Richard Barbarino. Did I pronounce that correctly?
You got it perfect.
Good, good. So 19 Sycamore Drive, the applicant seeks to construct a 24 by 24 two-car garage, and they need just a little bit shy of 10 feet for the side setback. They've been kind enough to provide some pretty good plans, and it looks like just the back of the garage is a little well, yeah, pretty all right. So they need an entire setback for the entire side of it. So they've got 10.6 inches. So by my calculation, they would need 9.4. All right, so I'm just going to read the standard really quick. So the petitioner has to establish that owing to circumstances relating to soil conditions, shape or topography of the land or structures, a literal enforcement of the provisions of the bylaw would involve substantial hardship, financial or otherwise, and relief may be granted without substantial detriment to the public good and without nullifying or substantially derogating from the intent or purpose of the bylaw. So would you be petitioners, applicants, would you be kind enough, could you just give me I think I can see what the hardship is, but can you just, in your own words, tell me what the hardship is? Keep in mind, it's not because you got a growing family, it's because of the soil, the shape of the land, the topography, the shape of the lot, something along
Yeah,
that
no, you
vein.
got it. So in that context, I'll respond. So, and then we have Greg Sarkeesian here with us as well, who is our contractor. I think, for us, given the way that the lot is laid, kind of on a diagonal. Sorry, I'm a layman. I'm an engineer, computer.
That's fine, that's fine.
On the diagonal, it presents a hardship to add on to our house. I would also cite for this group that not only a garage, we're also adding a great room and a master bedroom above it. So given the way that the diagonal is cut, doing this actually presents a hardship where we would need this relief if it was more of a square or not on said angle.
Right. Okay. Okay, great. All right, so, because these zoning board meetings on Zoom are a little bit challenging, so I just generally ask people try not to talk over each other. So I'll just kind of go down the line. Chris, do you have any questions or comments for the petitioners?
Thanks, Rick. Yeah, I got just some questions here. Um, just a few things. I took a look at the property, and I noticed there's some trees on the lot line, like kind of like on the other side of your driveway. I assume, are you going to leave those trees, or are those being cut down for to construct the building?
Yeah, great question. We are removing the trees that we need to that would be either too close or in the footprint there, and we've consulted an arborist to do so. And I think we're proceeding with that in anticipation of this proceeding.
So does that remove all of the trees, or just some of them? Are all of those yours, or some of those your neighbor?
All of them are ours,
Okay.
and I think it's 3.
Yeah, there's 3 that are coming down, and there will be,
One.
I believe, 1 or 2 remaining. Well, there's a pine tree in the back.
Yeah, but that's
So that's
not
remaining.
material for this.
That's way in the
We're-
back though, yeah.
Yeah, we're pruning the one that is remaining. Our idea here was to, uh, as joking as my wife wanted to keep as many as possible. So we wanted to prune the ones that, we had some fallen limbs, from the ice storm in '08 and recently, and we're pruning the one that has the ability to be pruned. But I think we're taking 3 down. 2 are kind of attached to each other. I look at it as one. I'm sorry, I'm not, I'm a layman in this, but it looks like one tree, but they come out to be 2. So that's,
Yeah,
we're
like a
counting
pair of
them as
hands.
2.
Yeah.
And then one is another one. So there are 3 trees, if you look at it that way, that are coming out, and we're pruning the one that can be pruned and not removed is the idea.
Okay, so you're leaving what you can pretty much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And just so, I think the house the addition, I'm sorry, the addition being set back, it's kind of a good look for the neighborhood. It doesn't stick right out. I mean, it's not too, it's not in in your neighbor's face, so to speak, or anything. So,
Well, that was the thinking from a design perspective. We didn't want to be invasive, and we also consulted our neighbor, Jay and Andrea next door, and talked through with them on what I'll say is the betterments and improvements, right, on that side, right, as to what's remaining. Do we do a retaining wall? We want to make it, my term, we want to make it nice and kind of congruent with what the look is, and not, presuppose anything on anyone else.
sure. Is that city water and city sewer up there? Or is that,
Yes, sir.
okay? Are you adding are you adding bedrooms, or the quantity staying the same?
Well, 1 bedroom, sir.
So you're adding 1 bedroom to the,
1 bedroom, 1 bathroom.
Also losing 1 bathroom, not to chime in, sorry about
oh,
that.
that's kind of where I was going, Greg. Thank you. So net
Yeah.
zero.
You're also losing 1 bedroom that's existing in the home for access for that new room as well.
Okay. So right now with whatever your septic, whatever the sewer you designed for, okay. All
Yeah,
right.
we're not
Right.
adding any people. As well. At least she hasn't told me yet.
Nope.
One question, the front elevation of the addition, I see your house is a Cape style house right now with the dormers on the upper floors. Will the second floor have that same look, the dormer look, or is it gonna be a full height, front wall on the second floor? Just curious.
It's actually going to be a full height on the second floor. I'm actually going to match the pitch on the lower pitch, so I can keep it as low profile as I can. But I'm going to pick up an aspect of that home certainly, so it doesn't resemble an addition, so to speak, and kind of blends in with it. But our elevations are going to be the same, and I want to keep it as low as I can. So I'm going to match that back pitch.
The back dormer pitch you're saying?
Correct.
On the back, okay, on the back of the house, okay. And then the front will just come out the same way, Greg, pretty much, so
Correct.
that would be a lot higher than, okay.
Yes, and even with the walker, I want to stay below that 26-foot mark, which we should be close to 24'6".
Okay, perfect. All right, thank you, sir. And just as a note, that the neighbor's house, now, you, Mr. Barbarino, you mentioned the neighbor that didn't really have a problem with it. Was that the one closest to that side of the property?
Of course, yeah.
That's what I was just want to clarify.
Yeah.
And just for the rest of the board, I looked at the home. There's only 1 window on that person's home facing this addition. They've got a fireplace chimney there, and so it's doesn't seem too bad, but it's close. But if they're fine with it, that's all I got. Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot, Chris. Bob? Bob?
Bob, off mute, Bob.
You'd think I would have figured it out by now. So yeah, I look at it as well, but it must be the angle a lot because it looked pretty narrow to me. But as you say, as you push it back on the lot, and it probably opens up a little bit more. So yes, I guess it's 35 feet. But when I first looked at it, it looked like it was a lot more narrow than that. But I mean, I'm okay with what they're proposing based on Chris's question. So I'm good.
Okay, thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
Paul, would you like to comments or questions?
I'm good, Rick. Looks okay. If the neighbors are on board, especially the one on the left side of the house there, then if there's no encroachment and they're happy, I don't see any issues with it.
Great. Okay, Art?
I'll just second what Paul said, not belabor it anymore. I think it looks good to me.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Jake?
Same here, Rick. I don't have a problem with it, especially it being set back. I think it'll look nice.
Okay, great.
Hey, Rick, can I ask just one more question, please?
Absolutely, sure.
Sorry. Also, the way the driveway kind of comes in on a little bit of an angle. Greg, are you planning on cutting into the retaining wall, like to cut into the first that front lawn area, or is the driveway going to remain just as it is? You're muted, Greg.
Thank you. I'm actually going to leave the driveway as is. I think because of the setback is kind of part of the design that I can kind of feather it out to the corner without really imposing upon that front driveway, which I think as one of the gentlemen said earlier, as you go back towards the lot, it kind of opens up a little bit. So I really wanted to keep that front as is.
So therefore, the driveway is not going to extend closer to your neighbor's yard, correct? The driveway
Correct.
stays as is. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep, that's correct.
Yep. Great. Thanks, guys.
Okay, I don't have any additional questions for the applicant. I think we probably have enough information. We did not receive any letters from any abutters. I don't believe we have received any kind of input from any other town board or commission. Tamika, am I correct there?
Sorry, now I'm having trouble unmuting. I did not hear anything back from the Board of Health, and the planning board did not have comment.
Okay, do we have a motion to close public comments and take up board discussion?
Rick, I just note that there's somebody here that says John's iPhone, and there's
Yeah.
another phone number that's unidentified. I'm not sure if
Yeah,
it's
you know
anybody
what?
from the public.
Let me just inquire. Is there anybody present who would like to be heard at this time on this issue?
No, we're the neighbors on the opposite side, and we are okay with the addition.
Okay, could you just, for the record, could you just state your names and the address?
Yeah, John Boulay, 21 Sycamore Drive.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I saw the iPhone. It was kind of, all right.
Yeah.
All right, is there anybody else who would like to be heard on this petition at all? Okay, all right, so do I hear a motion to close public discussion?
I'll make the motion, Rick.
All right, second?
Second.
All right, all in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Chris, aye.
All right, so I don't have any issue, and from the board questions and comments, it doesn't seem like any of you would do either. The voting members will be, myself, Chris, and Bob. Is there anything else we need to discuss before we put this to a vote?
Well, so Rick, how big of an easement are we going to do? I mean, how big of a variance are we going to give?
Well, it's like looks like the building inspector was really comprehensive, and he got down to the 10th of an inch on how much we need. So he put down 9.4 inches. Chris, do you prefer to go to an even like 10 feet? Does that make sense to you?
I would just, ask Mr. Sarkeesian, the builder, what he prefers. I mean, I believe that 10'6" is the exact structure. Is that correct, Greg?
That is correct. But like I said, in the sake of things, I think 10 feet would be fine.
Yeah, makes sense. Give you a few inches.
All right. So I'm proposing we vote on granting a 10-foot side setback variance. So is there any other comment on that? Does anybody have a problem with 10 feet side setback variance?
No.
Okay. So will there be a motion to put this to a vote?
So moved.
Yep, second.
Okay, so all in favor of granting a 10-foot side setback variance, say aye. Aye.
Aye, Chris.
Okay, so this is approved unanimously. We will get the decision in probably by early next week, and then we will be clocked into the clerk's office. There'll then be a statutory 20-day appeal period And I can't imagine anybody appealing this, but we have to wait the 20 days. Okay, so is anything else further, Greg, or the Barbarinos at this time?
No, just want to thank you
No,
all
thank you.
for the hearing
Okay.
and looking into this matter, and we look forward to putting Greg to work.
Great, great, very good, very good. Thank
Thank you.
you. All right, so
Good luck, guys. Enjoy.
So this is a public meeting. You're all welcome to stay. We're going to conduct other board business, but you're perfectly welcome to log off. It's up to you. The public meeting.
Appreciate it, and
Yes,
we'll
sir.
take the opportunity to do so. Thank you
Okay,
all.
great. Thank you.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
evening.
Good night.
Okay, so the next item on the agenda is a proposed zoning bylaw amendment. Essentially, this is from Clea Blair.
Greg, excuse me. I'm sorry, Rick, excuse me. Who's writing the decision?
I'm going to volunteer to write it unless somebody else wants to
Oh, save me.
volunteer.
Yeah, that's fine with me. Yeah, you can do it.
I'm doing it? Okay, all right, Tamika, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it.
Unless Tamika wants to do it. You want to discuss that right now?
Well, oh yeah, sure. All right. So Tamika has offered to do drafts of these decisions, and I think she's fully capable of doing so. She could probably draft 95% of an average decision, and of course, the author of the decision would be, you know, filling in the blanks or making revisions as they see fit. So I would definitely be in favor of taking her up on her generous offer to help us out.
I'm in favor of that. If
I
the,
don't think this is something we need to vote on.
no, I just,
Yeah.
No, but so what are we planning on doing though? We want to get this up there on a Monday for a Tuesday, or you know, so we all get the signatures.
Yeah, my plan is to get it in the email by Friday
Okay.
for this. Tamika, you're gonna draft this one?
Yeah, if somebody can just send me like a different variance that you've approved, just so I have a template.
Yeah,
I
I'll
can
do
get,
it.
yeah, I can get that done for you guys, and then that way we can plan on the beginning of next week. I can have it up there for you guys to sign it.
That sounds good. That sounds good.
like, she'll just send it out to us like later this week to review it, to make sure it's okay.
Yes.
And then it's up there. Cause, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Tuesday night, the town hall's still open late on Tuesday nights, right? Cause that's.
You know, unfortunately, they're not. They haven't been since COVID. But Anita has said that if there were situations where you couldn't make it by the time they closed, she's totally open to staying there for one of you guys to come up and sign.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
Thank you.
great. Okay, so thanks a lot. So Clea Blair, it's a citizen petition. Essentially, when we were doing the decision on the KP matter, the board had put right in the decision that we had asked Mr. Blair to file, you know, whatever he deemed necessary to get the bylaw changed, because we all agreed in principle that light industrial office area where the Rutland Plaza is, I mean, it's already got a lot of retail spaces. It didn't make any sense to not include retail, you know, restaurants, stores, things like that. And so Mr. Blair is doing exactly what we asked him to do, which is good. There's one other twist to it, that the proposal is when the bylaw is changed, that the planning board will in the future for that light office industrial district become the permitting authority. The
So, Rick,
granting authority, yes.
So I have a question for you. So I was reading that myself, but it looks like the planning board is already doing something on this, right? They're reviewing it. We have to give it to them, and they have 10 days after submission of the plan, right? We give it to the planning board. So aren't they already reviewing it?
Well, I think it depends on the individual circumstance.
This says one copy. See on page. These pages aren't numbered, but
Okay, about what page is it?
so it's not a page. It's this section 4. Yeah, section 4 talks about the zoning board of appeals shall, within 10 days of submission of the plan, submit a copy to the Board of Health and submit a copy to the planning board. So it looked like they were already looking at it. That's why I was wondering why it didn't seem like it was much of a change. But you're already looking at it, and now they're gonna be the voting, they're gonna make the decision, I guess, is that what we're saying?
Well,
Bob, if I could just make a clarification, Rick.
go ahead.
So when it says that, that just means that whenever we get an application in, regardless of what type it is, I have to send it to the planning board and the Board of Health so that they can comment on the application.
Right.
But it's not actually for them to have any granting authority in it.
Yeah, that's pretty much, that's been the practice all along.
But I mean, we take their comments seriously, right? So we wouldn't try to go against the planning board if they said, hey, really, guys, we don't think that we should move forward with this because of whatever the reason might be. I don't know. This seems strange that all of a sudden we make a change in the bylaw and they take the authority away from us.
Well, all right, okay. Aside from, you know, what's in section 4 here, which I'm not sure that exactly is, well, I don't know if that's really where we're going with this. The whole thrust of the discussion, I mean, that's a technical issue which we can talk about, but I think the main thing was that petition for Mr. Blair. He made the point that the planning board meets twice a month regularly. They have a much bigger budget. They have ready access to engineering analysis, and the thought was that the planning board would be better suited. Now, David George, the town planner, I don't see him on the meeting, but he, in his materials, his email that he sent, said that the trend in this state has been for some time, has been for site plan reviews. The trend is to not have the zoning board do it, but to have the planning board do it. In other words, just basically leave us our statutory charge, which is to anything that's under 40A, which is, you know, variances and special permits, you know, things like that. But as far as site plan reviews, he said the trend is to go the other way. Now, you know, Norm is here in the meeting. Would it make sense to hear what he has to say at this time?
Rick, if I could just make one comment to what you just said.
Yeah.
As far as the trends go, and I hate to use those words because this is ridiculous.
Okay.
I don't know what the trends are, but the legality, if you read the Mass state laws, okay, the ZBA and only the ZBA has the authority to grant any relief in the zoning, in the relief from any zoning criteria. Now, a lot of cities and towns, their planning boards do site plan reviews. That's very, very common in the state of Massachusetts.
Okay.
Planning board reviews a site plan approval process. It is only to make sure that they are adhering to the criteria that is in the zoning bylaws. For example, on a retail new building, if you're going to have so many parking spaces per footage, then that planning board has the ability, they would confirm to make sure you have the proper parking spaces. But the planning board does not have the ability in the state of Massachusetts to grant relief from parking spaces or any other things like that, okay? So, in even some special permits, so when you look at the law for zoning, it's zoning variances like you just described, and also special permits, which special permits live on two sides. It's a double-edged sword, because some special permits regard to zoning relief, but other special permits are just, you have to get one per the bylaws. So some planning boards do review special permits, but a lot of ZBAs review special permits because there's usually a zoning criteria or some type of relief that may need to be granted. So I'm not sure where this bylaw takes us as far as, you know, is there, because sometimes when you have multiple areas, like if you have like a certain type of building that's only allowed under special permit in a zoning district. Okay, there are like, if you look at the city of Worcester, they have, like, you know, 20 different zoning districts, but certain uses, certain types of use has no problem being in certain districts. Others require a special permit. to make sure, so relief has to be granted, oftentimes by ZBA, but if it's within constraints of the bylaws, the planning boards are allowed to do so. So, and I'd like to hear Norm's comments on that. I just wanted to shoot that in there before you went to Norm.
All right. I have more to talk about, but why don't we hear from Norm first? Norm, would you like to speak, like to be heard at this time?
Yeah, I guess first of all, I was kind of expecting Dave to be here, but I have to first of all echo what Dave told you, Rick. I guess two major comments. Number one, for other than industrial zones in town, we do site plan review. We are in charge of the site plan review for the town center district, the village center districts, in charge of site plan review for solar, for wind, and for wireless communications towers. So it's kind of, I guess I'll call it almost at this point an anomaly for the ZBA to be, in charge of site plan for the industrial zone. The second thing is, certainly we would not be in the business in any way of, let's say, granting a variance in that site plan review. That would still have to come to the zoning board of appeals. So, part of this is, I'm going to say just for consistency. And as, Dave has mentioned that this seems to be the more popular way now of doing things throughout the state.
Okay, Norma, thank you very much. All right, so I'd like to be heard, and then, and then we'll go down the line. Everybody will have a chance to speak. So there are we've had a lot of occasions over the years where the planning board was reviewing something, and as part of their process, a variance, or a special permit was required. And they did ship that off to the zoning board, and we did act on it. And then it went right back to the planning board. So I thought David George was going to be here as well, because he seemed to have a handle on this and was quite articulate in his speaking about it. And I don't know, as far as legality, any change to the bylaw has to be approved by the Attorney General. And there's a whole section in the Attorney General's office that reviews these things. And if there's something improper that's inconsistent with the general laws, they'll kick it right back. So the other thing I just want to say is that the planning board discussed this. The minutes are in the materials that were emailed, I believe, to everybody. The planning board unanimously approved this. So when it comes up for a vote at the town meeting, somebody, whoever introduces it is going to say that the planning board endorses this. Now, I think we have two choices. We can either endorse it ourselves, or we can just stay silent. And if any individual member of the zoning board wants to be heard, the forum would not be here, but it would be at the town meeting. I don't really have a problem with this. If you look at the big picture, it doesn't, I don't really have an issue with it. But I'd certainly be respectful of anybody else's opinion. So Chris, do you want to follow up with what you were saying before?
Yeah, the information that Dave George sent out, I'll be honest with you, I couldn't understand the language.
Huh.
Incomplete to me, to be honest with you. So I didn't really understand what power the planning board was going to have. And that's why I'm just kind of speaking generally from a legal point.
Yeah.
That I mean, personally, I have no problem as far as a planning board doing a site plan approval. I will say this, I would like to comment to Norm's thing. A lot of those new, the solar and the town district, these are new zoning districts that were created by the planning board, and therefore they retain control of the site plan approval for them. Years back, very early in the 60s, I mean, when the original 60s bylaws were created, the zoning board did a lot of the site plans, but over time, a lot of that was in the planning board, that's their job, to create new zoning districts for business. They're the forward thinkers of a town to be out there planning. And that they were doing their job, and I got no problem with them taking those things over. They created them, let them adjudicate, and that's fine with me. But I just want to make sure there's a lot of case law where sometimes planning boards overstep their bounds, and what ends up happening is it opens up an appeal, and those people have won the appeals and shot down these projects because an applicant was granted too much from a planning board. So I would just want to caution the planning board and really just kind of keep in mind that, Norm, as you plan these things out, if some of these bylaws, pertain to, some type of variance or relief that the zoning board has to do, it's just be real careful that you're not stepping into that territory, because I think you're really opening the applicant up to get appealed and overturned any decision that you would have for them in goodwill and good faith. That's all. So that's, I didn't really read all the details of it, to be honest with you, Rick. So
Hey, Chris, I don't want to interrupt, but Dave George is on the meeting.
Sure.
Why don't we hear from him? Dave, do you want to give a little quick overview if you could? Because we're like into the discussion.
Yes, sure. Let me just get the video going here. I apologize. Was this meeting at 7 or 6:30?
6:30, but we had another matter, so we just finished it a couple minutes ago.
Oh, I apologize for that. I had my times wrong. So I'm not sure how much Norm has gone into at this point, but there was a citizen's petition. The citizen's petition was, the idea behind it is to expand the offers, the uses, commercial uses in a light industrial office zoning district by bringing in uses currently in the business district into light industrial office, with the exception of residential. As written, it kept the references in the existing light industrial office as the zoning board as a permit granting authority. We did send you a packet. We had the excerpt of the minutes when the planning board had the hearing on April 27th. There was a lot of discussion about the proposal generally. I think the overall thought was that it's a good thing because it allows for more uses in the light industrial office than at present. And if you remember, this goes back to KP's and the use variance situation. So because of the use variance, there was a condition on it that the applicant rezone it. So that's why the applicant came forth with the citizen's petition. So in the course of the discussion, there was discussion on who the permit granting authority should be or should not be. Originally, the planning board was just going to let, the planning board didn't really have anything to say about it. It was the applicant who made the recommendation to change it to the planning board. And I think as I just jumped in, Chris seemed to hit a couple of these things right on. That, there has been a change from the late 60s to the present. Previously, the zoning board was in charge of a lot of site plans historically, but over time that has changed. I think the expertise of the planning board has improved. I think there's more staff support generally for a planning board than a zoning board. The planning board has more resources to get third-party review and so forth. So so the applicant amended it, and Norm thought it would be a good idea just to let you folks know about this to see if you have any particular issues or concerns.
Okay, Dave, thank you very much. All right, Chris, did you want to follow up with David or?
Yeah, and I just would, again, want to caution Norm, the planning board, and Dave, the company. The other prevalent problem with getting a lot of site plan approvals overturned in land court was the fact that a zoning board has to be a 2/3 vote. Okay? Regardless of the quorum, you have to have a 2/3 vote in a zoning board. Now, on a planning board, that's not always the case. If you have a 5-person planning board and you only have four people on the planning board, that's a quorum. And now you can have a vote, not like on a 7-person board, you can have 4 people there for a quorum and only 3 people are voting. Now you don't have a 2/3 vote or a majority in that case to the planning board, to the 7 people. And there was some cases where those were overturned on an appeal because they didn't have the 2/3 required by mass law. So just a couple of things, just as you guys go down this path, just be real careful of it, because a lot of cities, and ZBA still do a lot of site plan approvals in a lot of the cities and different towns. And again, it's when you start talking about, is the use of a property applicable in this zoning district? Again, only the ZBAs have that authority to allow that. Like we just allowed, the relief for that property. We looked at the conditions, the abutters and things like that. and we granted that relief. Planning boards just don't have that legal authority. So again, I'm not into the details of all this law, but I just want to caution everybody, be careful going down that. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, just to jump in, I think as staff, we have hopefully, I'll say it and then it'll go sideways, but hopefully staff has a good command on what site plan can and cannot do and what special permit can and cannot do. I mean, typically a site plan doesn't regulate the use per se because use
No.
is allowed as of right. What the site plan does is regulate to make sure that the lighting is sufficient, landscape buffering is
It
good.
basically keeps them, they make sure they're adhering to the bylaw.
That's correct.
They don't have the ability to let them go outside the bylaws.
That's right. And also tries to make the best possible project possible and make sure that the parking works, site access works, and all those kinds of site things, not the use, but the site. So we're very careful not to get the planning board in trouble. Hopefully no one would agree with that. And we've had a good run so far, so.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot, Dave. Bob, would you like to be heard at this time?
Mute.
Got it. I have a better understanding now of what we're talking about, but yeah, I mean, I know we've looked at different site plans ourselves and over the years, and we've had Quinn Engineering come in and do, give us their analysis of everything. So it's not like we couldn't do it, but I understand what we're talking about now, though, and how the planning board would be more involved. But so, and like I said, if anything comes back for a variance, that's something the zoning board would still have to be involved with, right? So it goes to the planning board, and they have to come back to us with a variance, and we have to discuss it after the fact, right? So that we're still involved in it.
Oh.
I just didn't know to what level the planning board was going to be involved. That's all.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Okay.
also to that point, Bob, a lot of site plans oftentimes have variances built into them. So in the case of where the ZBA was always the prevalent site plan review board, you could apply all at once for the variance as well as your site plan approval.
Right.
Okay, great. Paul, would you like to be heard?
Yeah, I just think this makes sense. And after the other two after the rest of the board is heard from, I'd like to make a motion that we actually stand behind it as a board.
Okay, after everyone has had a chance, I think, we should, gotta do what we do. Okay, Art, what do you think?
Yeah, I would think that the board, that we should endorse it.
Okay, great. And Jake?
It makes sense to me, and really the reason is site plan review and approval, I think I'm correct in saying this, doesn't mean that a variance and or a special permit wouldn't still be needed, which would come back to the ZBA. And to be quite frank, with site plan stuff, and I'm speaking just for myself, I rely a lot on the other members, especially Chris Senecal, to kind of guide me through some of the site plan stuff, where I'm much more comfortable with the kind of more vanilla variance and special permit applications.
All right, hey, thanks a lot, Jake. Okay, so
That said, Rick, can I make that motion?
yeah, the question is, I feel fairly comfortable in all 6 members voting on this, because we're just basically endorsing something.
I just want to abstain because I haven't read it. Honestly, I haven't read the document. So I'm fine with you guys doing that. I'm just not going to go either way, yay or nay.
Okay, all right. So I think the entire board, and Chris is abstaining, should vote for this. So is there a motion to put this to a vote? It's really an unofficial endorsement of the ZBA.
I motion that the zoning board endorses the amendment.
I'll
Okay,
second.
Okay, so all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, so Dave, I'm not sure to the extent that you're going to be involved in presenting this amendment at town meeting, but you have the unanimous approval of the zoning board.
Excellent. I appreciate this. Norm is still here. I think Norm is going to be probably taking the lead at town meeting.
Yeah.
Rick, just to amend your statement, I'm sorry to cut you off.
That's cool.
That it's not unanimous because we had one abstention. That it's just to cover it, that
Yeah,
when it was
okay.
presented to the
Right.
town,
Say the
zoning
board approves, but I don't care.
It still
I
might be
just didn't read the
unanimous.
thing. I'm not gonna say I'm going on with something. I didn't read it. I'm not a.
No, I get it, Chris. Just that we don't want to say something that it was unanimous when just that the
Absolutely.
zoning board voted to endorse this. That's all.
Fine.
Sorry, Dick.
Fine.
No, it's okay. I see Norm has his hand raised. Maybe Norm will finish up the thought about what the procedure would be at town meeting and who would make whatever recommendation.
Yeah, I guess first thing is, I'd like to thank Chris for his comment about the planning board being a forward-looking board. Sometimes I have to wonder, with all the other business we have, how forward-looking we can be, but particularly with our town planner on board, Dave George, I think we're really starting to make some progress in that way. As far as town meeting is concerned, the only thing I think you need to know is that the citizens petition has the language that still keeps the zoning board of appeals as the site plan review authority. So we will be offering an amendment on the floor right at the beginning of the motion to change that from zoning board of appeals to planning board.
Okay. All right, Norm. Well, thank you very much.
Hey, Rick, should we write a letter stating that the zoning board, supports this motion that Norm could read at this? Is that something that you feel you need, Norm, or at the town meeting?
It probably wouldn't hurt.
Okay, we'll get that to you, Norm.
Okay,
We'll get that to you.
you can send it to Dave.
Okay, we'll get that today.
I'm sure Tamika would write something on.
Tamika,
I can do that.
Chris and Tamika, you read my mind. Okay.
I'm on it.
He's great at it.
All
right.
Let people do what they're great at. Let them do it, right?
Okay, all right, so I think we're all set with this. The board's gonna conduct a little more business, so obviously it's a public meeting and everyone can stay. But if Dave and Norm, if you're done, you got other things you wanna do, thank you very much for coming and speaking at our meeting.
Great. I appreciate you folks having us tonight, and have a good night. And we'll talk soon.
All right, good night.
Thank you.
Thank you very, very much.
Take care, sure, bye. Okay, so I think the next issue would be the minutes from the April 14th. So I'm not sure I shared this with the rest of the board. Tamika knew, but that was my birthday. So, yeah, but so I remember the date. It was without even looking at it. All right, so it was April 14th.
Oh, Rick, I'm so sad I wasn't there. I totally would have sung to you and maybe embarrassed you a little bit on Zoom.
Maybe, who knows, Okay, well, it wasn't voluntary. You had another meeting that you had to be at. I understand that. Okay, so I had just one little tweak, just a little clerical thing, which I already discussed with Tamika, and I don't have any issue with the rest of the minutes. I thought she did a really nice job looking at the video and putting everything together. I think these are one of the more comprehensive minutes I've ever seen. They actually came out nice. Does anybody else have any comments about the minutes?
No, I'll make a motion to approve them.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, Tamika, do we have any other business tonight?
No.
I have something, Rick.
Okay, go ahead, Paul.
Okay, this is actually pertaining to our next meeting. We have the McLean appeal, request for variance. I'm gonna butter on that. So, I guess, so should I be abstaining on that? How do we want to approach that?
Well, if you think you have a financial interest in the result, then you should recuse yourself.
The only financial result would be he may bring up the property values in the neighborhood.
Yeah, well, all right. Well, I'll leave it to your discretion. If you think it's better that you recuse yourself, then I'll certainly support that. So it's really up to you. If you want to recuse yourself, that's fine. I think as long as you can certainly be present, you probably don't want to. You're probably going to be at the meeting because you want to talk about the other issues. But if you want to stay silent and not participate or vote or anything on that one, I think that would be entirely appropriate.
Yeah, I just need, make sure it's on the record too, that,
We'll put it on the record on
Okay.
the 19th. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know in the past, like, I know there was one time I knew somebody or I was friendly with them and I was speaking, but I was not a voting member.
Yeah,
So I would just,
Yeah.
just talk about the construction of the lot
Right.
or something.
right. I'd be happy to talk about it, but like I said, I don't think I
There's
should.
no
vote
reason you
on it.
can't do that, you know?
Yeah. Well, okay. All right.
Okay,
I don't think anybody make an issue out of it, but if as an abutter, maybe you just stay out of it completely, but we can discuss it on the 19th.
yeah, okay.
See what you think. Okay. All right. Is there anybody else have any other business that you want to discuss? All right, Tamika, do we have anything else?
No, we don't have anything else. I was just gonna make mention that, which Rick already knows. I don't know if you guys remember the abutter Christina Suhaki from the 29 Barry Paxton Road. She's putting together more information regarding the reason why she is against this. So I did advise that she could send it to me, and so you may be getting some more information from me with regards to that. I haven't heard anything else from the from the applicant, other than that revised site plan and the letter to the board, which I think I sent you guys last week.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So I'll look forward to seeing you all in 2 weeks. And that meeting is at 6 o'clock rather than 6:30.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, okay. All right. So
Excuse me, one second. Tamika,
Yeah.
there's no HPD review board meeting scheduled right now, correct?
No, we haven't scheduled the next one yet, and we haven't heard any word that they need to quite yet.
Okay, good. I just
Yep.
want to make sure that wasn't a problem. Thank you.
Yep, no problem.
all right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second.
All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, so thank you, everybody.